Today on Wolves Talk, we're joined by Andrew Dale, Vice President of Marketing and Development for Sudbury Wolves Sports and Entertainment Group, and Macauley Carson of the Sudbury Wolves. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? What brought you basically to the Wolves? Like a little bit of your background and leading up to coming here and playing in Sudbury.
Yeah, I'm from Midhurst, which is just outside of Barrie, so it's not too far from here. And I played for the Barrie minor hockey system, and then got drafted to the Wolves in 2015, and then came up here. I wasn't sure if I'd make the team my first year or not, so I didn't even really pack any clothes or too much. I was just kind of here for the weekend, or I thought, and then next thing I know, I was coming out the doors out of the meeting my billets, and then so I've been with them, same billets for 3 years, so I'm pretty comfortable with them and pretty comfortable with the city now, so everything's been pretty good up until now.
That's an interesting story. I don't know. I'd be pretty surprised coming into a situation like that myself. How did that feel? Like, it's a good thing, first of all, that you weren't all that far from home, right?
Yeah.
You'd probably make a phone call and say, I think I need some clothes, I need some supplies up here, right? And then from there, it was just basically right on the team.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like, well, my parents, they were up too for the training camp, and then it was just kind of everything kind of happened pretty quick, and so I was moving in to my billets with not much clothes, and then so like you said, it's not too far, so my parents did the trip for me, and then I think we had like a exhibition and game in Barrie, and so I go there with nothing, and I come back on the bus with a full suitcase to bring back to Sudbury. So it was kind of like it was kind of more, I guess, a little more crazy for my parents, because it's the first time I was, I don't know, going away from home for a longer period of time. But
yeah, because on your parents' side, they wouldn't have been expecting. They were expecting the same thing as you were, possibly, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna be coming back.
Yeah, they weren't sure. So then when I stayed, they were like, kind of like, okay, like now what? So it was kind of a learning experience, I guess, the first year. But like they're used to it now. I go away for whatever it is, hopefully 8 months this year, if everything goes well.
Now describe your game, basically, from that first year, coming in like that, to where you're at now. Like, where have you gone? Like, what kind of hockey player are you? How would you define yourself as a player, and where you've come from and what you're working on going forward?
Yeah, I think coming in my first year, I was a little bit, like I was bigger than most guys my age, so I tried using that to my advantage to make the team the first year. So I definitely hit a lot more I was trying to be more of a role player, I guess, figure out a way to not be out of the lineup more than be.
So you want to prove yourself, right? You want to make sure you stay once you're there.
So I would try and just work hard, forecheck, do all the little things, right, that builds up the coach's trust. And then my second half of the year, I got on penalty kill, so that kind of gave me an upper edge to not be scratched, because it's useful for the team. And then my second year, I kind of wanted to be kind of go back to a little more minor hockey, where I scored a bit more than only scoring 5 goals in my first year. So I think I did that. I still wasn't gonna hold the puck too long. Like, that's not so much my game. I'm more of a move it and kind of go to the right spots and find open areas kind of way is usually how I score, or 2 feet from the net. So I think I did that last year, and then coming into this year, I didn't shoot much last year, so I guess I'm trying to shoot a bit more this year, and just play with a little bit more confidence. I think each year that you go through this league, you gain more confidence, and that's kind of just where I'm at right now.
And how much of that is your recognizing certain things and wanting to work on them? And let's say maybe some of the coaching staff seeing some of your game and saying, this is where we think you might need to concentrate on. How much of it is just you saying, I really want to work on these things in my game? And how much is it of the team philosophy of where you fit in there to work on some things?
Yeah. I think, like, as a player, you're going to know your strengths and weaknesses, and I always try and play to my strengths, and I'm usually pretty aware of my weaknesses, so my strengths would be, like, in front of the net and working, below the goal line. But this year, like, Corey, like our head coach, he's really good at, on development, so they see where I need to improve as well, and I think before I got hurt, because I broke my wrist early this year. They were trying to get me to, get my feet moving before I get the puck, like when I'm playing wing. So I'm already going, so I can have speed going in on, the defenseman. And I think when I went to the pro camp coming back, you had to be moving your feet always, or else you're not going to keep up with those guys. So I think I kind of brought that more mindset back than kind of keeping my feet still, and it's helped so far. I haven't really got to use it much because I've only played 3 games this past weekend, but so I'm just kind of trying to get into the swing of things again.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. How do you feel at the beginning of this season? How things have gone, and are you getting back into things, and how's that been?
Yeah, it's weird because I've never missed a game for injury, and like whenever I played hockey, I've only missed games for like suspension or whatever. So it was a little bit of a different scenario sitting out because I missed 20 games or almost 20 games. So I think because it was the second shift of the first game, so it's kind of disappointing. So I guess it's better to happen at the start than going into playoffs or whatever. So yeah, I just played my first games this weekend and had first road trip, so it's kind of weird trying to find my spot on the bus again. It feels like I'm a rookie again, trying to feel like what's going on here on the bus and stuff. So it's more just kind of getting, I guess, my timing back on the ice, but I feel pretty good right now.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I think that's part of the game too, right, is learning how to deal with injuries and coming back. So I don't want to say having an injury is a good thing, but at the same time, how do you handle that when you do, right? So
yeah,
you've learned a few things, it sounds like it, through the process.
Like it's tough, like when you break your wrist, like you can't really do much with stick handling, and so I guess just working on your top hand strength, you kind of try and find positives in getting hurt, and so I just skating a lot before I came back, just to get like conditioning, and even though it's tough because there's nothing like playing in games, like you train for it, but I always find that like even summer training, if you're not like, that's why you need those exhibition games at the start, just to kind of, like I said, get your timing. So when you're out for 6 weeks or whatever, you don't lose. It's not that you lose it, but guys have just been playing for 6 weeks, and I've been off for 6 weeks, or out of games. So they kind of got an advantage. So I think just for the first few games, I just have to keep things simple a bit until I get full confidence back in my wrist and everything about my game.
And you were picked for the Team OHL to play as well, right? So, but you were injured, correct?
Yeah.
So, was that a bummer, I guess, for lack of better words? Just you're picked, and then you're just coming back, and there's the time to kind of play for Team OHL. How was that experience, and how did that all play out?
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting to get picked because I was hurt, and we have a lot of good players on the Sudbury team that could have been picked for it too. So it was obviously a big honor to be picked. But I kind of set a date for when I wanted to come back, because I didn't really have a set date. I knew when I was getting my cast off, but I guess it just kind of put a goal that I want to get back to. So I got my cast off last week, and then I didn't want to waste any time, so I felt ready to play on the weekend, so I played all 3, and then I think even though like the game was good, it was just it was nice meeting like all the players and stuff, because you know what they are like on the ice, but you never really know how they are as just guys. So meeting them is kind of cool. And then the game was it's a lot it's a lot faster. If you're watching it, like you could obviously tell. So I think just it was good to play in that game. Even I didn't play that much, but just to kind of play with that like talent, and then try and bring it back to like OHL regular season games, I think it's going to be an advantage.
Yeah, for years.
No, like you can
That's
watch even during a season 4 or 5 years ago.
Yes.
For 2 or 3 years ago, when they had a real rough year, they still picked up 50% more points in the middle games than they did in the first and the end. So it's just interesting to analyze the statistics to go, okay, well, what is that? And so then start to question: is that the road schedule? Is that the home schedule? Is that the Christmas schedule? Why, right? Or is it just a function of the team getting to know each other? Maybe there's not as much, known amongst the players, and so it takes them longer to bond and get together and trust and understand each other. I don't know, but I certainly think that given where the organization was 8-9 weeks ago and where it is today, it's in a different place. You see the structure on the ice, you see the discipline, and there's things to work on as always. But I think it's an exciting position to be in, because hopefully people don't give us the respect that we deserve, and we can take them by surprise.
Take
over
advantage
the next,
of that, right?
couple months. Yeah,
always go for the underdog.
that's right.
Yeah, I admit I've gone for the Maple Leafs for quite some time. I have to admit it, but I go for an underdog. But I think it's all about timing, like you said. It really looks. You guys have looked good even with injuries. Yourself being one of them. I mean, you got really great goaltending. Every area, I think, is in good shape, and it's only going to get better now that people are going to be back and the momentum's there. You're looked at as the underdog coming in. Teams are going to underestimate you, and it's getting this historical fact that you've always done better here at this time going forward, and hopefully we can curve history or a little bit and keep it going at the end too.
Absolutely.
And not do a little bit of a dip.
You know what? And I think back to Monday night, like you were in the building, Macauley, you were in the building with the team. We put you guys up on the video board. but I think you saw a full house of excited hockey fans. Some people who aren't necessarily regulars out to the Wolves game. You saw a quieter fan group, even though it was larger, because the Wolves fans, when they're out, are passionate. They bring that noise and they bring that enthusiasm, right? And so I think in a game like that, you kind of see that there is a big interest in the game, because it is our gathering spot, and that's what the Wolves do, right? They gather the community and get people to root for them. So
it's interesting you bring that up, and you don't get the chance to really sit in the stands, and rightfully so, because you're where you need to be on the ice, right? But so I'm coming to the games, and I'm sitting in an area where these guys all know each other, sitting around in the seats. Like they got nicknames. I know you guys have nicknames on the ice, but all your fans have nicknames for each other. It's almost like they're part of the team, and they're giving each other.
But they are part of the team.
They are.
The fan is the most important part of the process, because they enjoy it and they support these guys. And you watch the CHL series, right? And you hear from different executives or alumni or whatever, and they're talking about the different way teams are structured in communities. In some places, local teams are owned by a 25 group of owners. In other places, they're season ticket holder owned. In other places, they're owned by one person. But what is, I think, the thread that combines them all is at the junior hockey level, where it's a developmental league. We talked about how Macaulay's here being on the radio for the first time. It's important.
Yep.
Part of his development, we got him a late slip for school, so we'll thank LaSalle secondary for that. But
I didn't realize that.
So but it's but no, I mean, the checks and balances and checking with the coaching staff to make sure it's okay, because it is all part of their development. We've got players going to schools this morning, and they'll be talking about that, because the team represents the community when it's out there, but the team is the community when it's playing in the Sudbury Arena. So,
Yeah, right.
so back to the fact that those fans, those nicknames, they are a part of it. And I've been making changes, and so it's been interesting because those changes are met with some.
You hear it, right?
I hear it.
You
yeah.
hear it.
I'm not hiding on the ice playing. I'm in the stands with them. So no, but we
And they're
certainly
not afraid to
appreciate
go up
the
to you. I've seen
No,
that.
they love it, and I love hearing from them because we're here to improve. And they've got great ideas.
Yeah.
Some of them we've implemented. Some we've yet to. So.
And some will be yet discussed, I'm
That's right.
sure. And but I want to thank both of you for being in the studio, especially Macauley Carson for being here his first time on the radio. You did a stellar job, by the way.
Thank you.
You're already a trained professional, other than bumping into the mic.
Screwed up just at the end.
But this is DIY radio. We can do stuff like that, right?
That's right.
You can even swear on here, but apparently we're not going to do that.
No, we're not. We're not. I commend you for that.